The ground shook under Jake Collins' boots as another explosion lit up the night sky. Fire burned everywhere in New Geneva Colony. Black smoke filled the air and made it hard to breathe. The smell of burning metal and plastic stung his nose. "Move, move, move," Jake shouted to his squad. He was a Marine sergeant and his job was to get his people out alive. The reptilian aliens called the Hegemony had come to destroy everything. Their ships hung in the sky like dark clouds shooting down at the human buildings below. Corporal Amy Price ran beside him, her rifle ready. "Sarge, the evac point is 2 clicks north. We need to hurry." Behind them, Private Tony Green helped carry Corporal Dan Foster, who had taken shrapnel in his leg. The kid was tough, but Jake could see the pain in his eyes. "How long until pickup?" Jake asked into his radio. 15 minutes, Sergeant Collins, came the reply. "Enemy forces are closing in fast. You need to get there now." Jake looked back at the burning city. They had fought hard to defend this place. Families lived here. Children played in these streets just yesterday. Now it was all ash and rubble. The Hegemony did not care about human life. They wanted the planet for themselves. A strange sound made Jake stop. It was not the usual noise of battle. This was different. Someone was calling for help, but the voice was not human. "Sarge, we need to go," Amy said. She grabbed his arm. "The shuttle won't wait." Jake listened again. The sound came from a collapsed building to their left. Something blue glowed under the broken concrete and twisted metal. "There's someone under there," Jake said. "It's probably a trap," Tony said. He was young and scared. Jake did not blame him. The lizards use all kinds of tricks, but Jake was already moving toward the rubble. Something about that blue light felt important. Call it soldier's instinct or just plain stubbornness, but he could not leave without checking. Under the debris, Jake found something he had never seen before. It was definitely alien, but not one of the reptilian Hegemony soldiers. This being had blue skin that seemed to glow from within. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, but it was getting weaker. The alien was tall and lean, wearing some kind of armor that looked like it grew from her body rather than being put on. Jake could tell it was female by her shape and features. She had long silver hair and a face that was beautiful in a strange, otherworldly way. Blood leaked from several wounds on her body. The blue glow of her skin flickered like a dying lamp. She was trapped under a heavy beam that had crushed her legs. "Sarge, what are you doing?" Amy called.
"We have to go."
The alien's eyes opened. They were the color of deep ocean water. She looked at Jake and said something in a language he did not understand. Her voice was musical, even in pain. Jake made a choice that would change everything. He grabbed the beam and pulled with all his strength. It was too heavy. The metal cut into his hands, but he did not stop. "Help me," he told his squad. "Are you crazy?" Tony asked. "It's an alien." "She's hurt," Jake said. "That's all that matters," Amy sighed but grabbed the beam. Dan hobbled over on his good leg to help. Even Tony finally joined in. Together, they lifted the heavy metal enough for Jake to pull the alien free. Her legs were badly crushed. Jake had seen wounds like this before. Without medical help soon she would die. He took off his belt and made tourniquets to stop the bleeding. The alien watched him work with those deep blue eyes. Jake's hands moved quickly. He had been a medic before becoming a Marine. He packed the wounds with biofoam and gave her a shot of painkiller. He did not know if human medicine would work on aliens, but he had to try. The alien spoke again. This time she reached up and touched Jake's face with one blue hand. Her touch was warm and sent a strange tingling feeling through his body. For a moment the world seemed to spin. Jake felt dizzy and confused. "Sarge," Amy shouted. "Hegemony forces 200 meters and closing." Jake could hear the heavy footsteps of reptilian soldiers. Their hissing voices filled the air. In the distance, their weapons charged up with an electric whine. Without thinking, Jake picked up the alien. She was heavier than she looked, but still light enough to carry. Her blue skin felt warm against his armor. "This is insane," Tony muttered. But he helped cover their retreat. They ran through the burning streets. The alien hung limp in Jake's arms, unconscious from pain and blood loss. Her blue glow had faded to barely a flicker. Behind them, reptilian soldiers burst from the shadows. Their weapons fired bolts of superheated plasma that melted anything they hit. One shot passed so close to Jake's head that he felt his hair singe. Amy and the others returned fire, buying them precious seconds. The evac shuttle appeared over the rooftops, its engines roaring. It landed in a cloud of dust and debris. "Go, go, go!" the pilot shouted. Jake carried the alien up the ramp as his squad piled in behind him. Tony slammed the door shut just as plasma bolts started hitting the hull. The shuttle lifted off and shot toward the sky. Through the window, Jake watched New Geneva burn below them. Another human colony lost to the war. He looked down at the alien in his arms. Her breathing was shallow but steady. The medical equipment on the shuttle showed readings he did not understand. Whatever she was alive. "What's your name?" Jake whispered, even though she could not hear him. As if in answer, her lips moved slightly. She spoke one word in that musical language of hers. Later, Jake would learn it meant bonded in her tongue, but for now he just held her close and hoped she would live. He had no idea that saving her life would change the course of the entire war. He just knew it was the right thing to do. The shuttle flew toward the human fleet waiting in space. Behind them, the planet burned. Ahead lay an uncertain future, and in Jake's arms, an alien warrior dreamed of blue skies and the human who had pulled her from death itself. Jake sat beside the medical bed and watched the alien sleep. 3 days had passed since the rescue on New Geneva. The doctor said she would live, but her recovery was slow. The medical bay on the ship Liberty's Edge was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Jake came here every day, bringing food that the doctors said would not hurt her. He did not know why he felt responsible for her, but he could not stay away. Dr. Lisa Park walked over with a tablet in her hands. She was the ship's expert on alien biology and she looked worried. "How is she?" Jake asked. "Stable," Lisa said. "But there's something strange happening. Her body chemistry has changed since you brought her in." "Changed how?" Lisa showed him readings on her tablet. Her brain waves, heart rate, even her blood pressure. They're all matching patterns we've seen before. "What kind of patterns?" "Yours, Sergeant Collins. Her body is somehow copying your biological rhythms." Jake stared at the sleeping alien. She looked peaceful now. Her blue skin had returned to its soft glow. The wounds on her legs were healing faster than any human could heal. "Is that bad?" Jake asked. "I don't know. I've never seen anything like it." The alien's eyes opened. Those deep blue eyes looked right at Jake and seemed to recognize him. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Easy," Jake said. He gently pushed her back down. "You're safe now," she spoke in her musical language. Jake could not understand the words, but her tone was grateful. Dr. Park brought over a small device. "This is a translator. It should help you talk to each other." The alien looked at the device with curiosity. When Lisa placed it near her ear, her eyes widened in surprise. "Can you understand me now?" Jake asked. "Yes," the alien said. Her voice through the translator was calm and strong. "You are the one who saved me. I'm Jake Collins." "What's your name?" "I am Commander Lyra Voss of the Etherian Star Guard." Jake had heard of the Etherians. They were one of the few alien races that wanted to help humans fight the hegemony, but he had never seen one before. "Etherian," he said, "your people are our allies." "Yes, my fleet was defending your colony when the hegemony attacked. I was leading a ground team when the building collapsed on me. I'm sorry we couldn't save your people too." Lyra's expression became sad. "My squad died fighting. I would have died too if not for you." Over the next few days, Jake spent hours talking with Lyra. She told him about her people and their long war with the hegemony. The reptilian aliens had been destroying worlds for thousands of years. The Etherians had fought them for centuries. "Why do they do it?" Jake asked. "Why destroy everything?" "The hegemony believes only they deserve to live," Lyra said. "They see all other life as inferior. They will not stop until every world belongs to them." Jake brought her human food to try. She liked chocolate but thought coffee was terrible. She laughed when he made faces at the Etherian nutrition paste she offered him, but Dr. Park's concerns grew stronger each day. The biological connection between Jake and Lyra was getting stronger, not weaker. "I need to run more tests," Lisa told Jake privately. "Something is happening that I don't understand." The tests revealed something incredible. Jake and Lyra's nervous systems were somehow linked. When one felt pain, the other sensed it. When one was stressed, the other's body responded the same way. "This is impossible," Lisa said, looking at the results. "Two completely different species can't share biological functions like this." That's when the Etherian ships arrived. Admiral Karen Hayes called Jake to the bridge. Through the main window, he could see 3 beautiful ships that looked like they were made of crystal and light. They were unlike anything humans had built. "They're here for their commander," Admiral Hayes said, "but they want to speak with you first." An hour later, Jake stood in the shuttle bay as Etherian officers came aboard. They were all tall and graceful, with that same blue glowing skin as Lyra. But there was something different about the way they looked at him. The leader introduced herself as Captain Zara Thanis, Lyra's second in command. She spoke perfect English without needing a translator. "Sergeant Collins," she said, "we owe you a great debt for saving Commander Voss." "I just did what anyone would do," Jake said. Captain Thanis smiled, but it was a strange smile. "No, human. You did something very special. You formed a life bond with our commander." "A what?" "Come. Lyra will explain." In the medical bay, Lyra was sitting up and looking much stronger. When she saw the Etherian officers, she spoke quickly in her own language. Jake could tell from their faces that the news was not good. "Jake," Lyra said, "please sit down. I must tell you something important." "Okay," Jake said, but he felt nervous. "When you saved my life, something happened between us. In Etherian culture, when someone saves another person from certain death, a bond forms. Not just friendship, but something deeper." "What kind of bond?" Lyra looked at her hands. "According to our laws, you are now my husband." Jake's mouth fell open. "You're what?" "The life bond cannot be broken," Captain Thanis said. "Your life forces are connected now. You are bonded mates." "But I don't understand," Jake said. "I just carried you to safety." "You did more than that," Lyra said. "You shared your life energy with me. Look." She held out her hand. Jake could see a faint blue glow under her skin, but there was something else. Golden threads of light moved through the blue like tiny lightning. "Your life force is mixed with mine now," she said. "And mine with yours." Dr. Park had been listening to everything. "That explains the biological synchronization," she said. "You're literally sharing life energy." Admiral Hayes entered the medical bay. "I've been talking with the Etherian fleet commander," she said. "This changes things for our alliance." "How?" Jake asked. "Bonded pairs are considered sacred in Etherian culture," Captain Thanis explained. "They fight together as one unit. They are much stronger than two individuals." "I don't know how to fight like an Etherian," Jake said. "And I must learn human tactics," Lyra said. "If we are bonded, we must train together." Admiral Hayes looked serious. "The war is getting worse. The hegemony is hitting both human and Etherian worlds harder than ever. We need every advantage we can get." "Are you ordering me to do this?" Jake asked. "No," the Admiral said. "The choice is yours. But this bond might be the key to winning the war." Jake looked at Lyra. Her blue eyes watched him carefully. He could feel something strange in his chest, like a warm glow that matched hers. "What does it mean to be bonded?" he asked. "It means we share everything," Lyra said. "Strength, weakness, life, death. When one hurts, the other feels it. When one fights, the other's power flows through them. And if I say no, the bond will weaken over time," Captain Thanis said. "But it will never fully break. You will always be connected." Jake thought about his squad, about the burning colony, about all the people who had died in this war. Maybe this strange twist of fate could help save others. "Okay," he said. "Let's do this." Lyra smiled, and for the first time since he saved her, the blue glow in her skin brightened with what looked like happiness. "Then we begin training tomorrow," she said. "You will learn what it means to be a war husband." Jake had no idea what he was getting into. But as he looked at Lyra's smile, he felt that warm glow in his chest grow stronger. Maybe saving her life had really saved his own too. The war was far from over, but now they would face it together. Jake had never felt anything like the Etherian armor. When Lyra helped him put it on, the blue material seemed to come alive. It flowed over his body like liquid metal, then hardened into perfect protection. "It responds to our bond," Lyra explained. They stood in the training room aboard the Etherian ship Storm's Edge. "The armor knows we are connected." Jake moved his arms and legs. The armor felt lighter than air but stronger than steel. "This is incredible." "Now we must learn to move as one," Lyra said. She wore matching armor that glowed brighter when she stood near him. "In Etherian combat, bonded pairs share everything. Sight, sound, even thoughts. Their first training session was a disaster." Jake was used to human fighting styles, direct, aggressive, practical. Etherian combat was like a dance. Lyra moved with flowing grace, her movements beautiful but deadly. "You fight like you are alone," she said after Jake fell for the 10th time. "But we are two hearts with one purpose." "I don't understand," Jake said, getting back up. "How do I fight like someone else?" Lyra placed her hand on his chest. Through the armor, he could feel warmth spreading from her touch. Close your eyes. Feel my heartbeat. Jake closed his eyes. At first, he only felt his own heart pounding from the exercise. But slowly he began to sense something else. A second rhythm, just slightly different from his own. I feel it, he whispered. Good. Now move with that rhythm, not against it. They tried again. This time, Jake let Lyra's movements guide his own. When she stepped left, he felt the urge to step right. When she raised her weapon, his arms wanted to lower his. Suddenly, it clicked. They were not fighting as two people, but as two halves of one fighter. Lyra attacked while Jake defended. Jake pressed forward while Lyra covered his back. They moved like they had trained together for years. Better, Lyra said, and Jake could hear the smile in her voice. Much better. Lieutenant Commander Steve Ross arrived the next day to observe their training. He was Jake's old commanding officer and had known him for 5 years. Collins, what the hell are you doing? Steve asked after watching them spar. You're moving like we're one person, Jake finished. That's the point, sir. Steve shook his head. I've seen combat teams train for months to get half that coordination. The bond makes it possible, Lyra said. Our nervous systems share information faster than thought. Steve wanted proof. He set up a combat simulation, the hardest one in the system. 12 enemy soldiers against Jake and Lyra in an urban environment. No way 2 people can beat this scenario, Steve muttered. But Jake and Lyra did not fight like 2 people. When enemies appeared behind Jake, Lyra's warning flowed through their bond before his eyes could see the threat. When Lyra faced multiple attackers, Jake's tactical knowledge guided her movements. Their weapons seemed to work better together too. Lyra's energy rifle could combine with Jake's projectile gun to create devastating new attacks. The armor shared power between them, making both stronger. They finished the simulation in record time without taking a single hit. Impossible, Steve said, staring at the results. Captain Nina Clark from Human Intelligence was also watching. She had studied alien combat techniques for years. The hegemony won't know how to fight this, she said. They're used to individual opponents. This could change everything. Word of their success spread quickly. Other Etherian warriors began asking if they could be bonded with human partners. But Dr. Park's research showed that the life bond was rare and could not be forced. It requires perfect compatibility, she explained to Admiral Hayes. The biological and psychological match has to be exact. Jake and Lyra were just incredibly lucky. Meanwhile, the war was getting worse. Captain Ben Martinez brought news that made everyone worried. The hegemony has taken 3 more systems, he reported. They're moving faster than we can stop them. And they've started using some kind of new weapon that specifically targets bonded Etherian pairs. What kind of weapon? Lyra asked. We don't know. But any Etherian warriors who are bonded die within minutes of exposure. The weapon seems to attack the life bond itself. This news shook Lyra badly. Jake could feel her fear through their connection. That night she could not sleep. I'm scared, she admitted as they sat in the observation deck looking out at the stars. If the hegemony has found a way to break life bonds, hey, Jake said, taking her hand. We'll face it together, remember? You don't understand, Lyra said. If the bond breaks violently, both partners die. Always, it's not just death. Jake, it's the complete destruction of everything we are. Jake felt her terror through their connection, but he also felt something else, determination, love. The same feelings that had made him risk everything to save her on New Geneva. Then we'll have to make sure they don't get the chance, he said. Over the following weeks, their training intensified. Lyra taught Jake to use Etherian psychic techniques that let him sense enemies through walls. Jake showed her human tactics that relied on speed and surprise rather than honor and tradition. They learned to fight in zero gravity, underwater, in burning buildings, and in the deadly vacuum of space. Their bond grew stronger with each challenge. Sergeant Major Kevin Adams, Jake's old mentor, came to watch them train. Kevin had been a Marine for 30 years and had seen everything. Son, he told Jake after watching them fight, I've trained thousands of soldiers, but I've never seen anything like what you two can do. It feels natural now, Jake said, like we were always meant to fight together. Maybe you were, Kevin said. In war, the greatest weapon isn't guns or ships. It's having someone worth fighting for. The breakthrough came during a practice mission against holographic enemies. Jake and Lyra were surrounded and outnumbered 20-1. In that moment of extreme danger, something new happened. Jake could suddenly see through Lyra's eyes as well as his own. She could feel his tactical thoughts as clearly as her own. They moved with perfect unity, each knowing exactly what the other would do before they did it. When the simulation ended, they stood in the center of 20 dead enemies, completely unharmed. "How did you do that?" Captain Thanos asked. She had been watching with amazement. "I don't know," Lyra said. "The bond, it's deeper than we thought." Dr. Park's scans revealed that their brain patterns had completely synchronized during the fight. For those few minutes, they had truly become one mind and two bodies. "This is beyond anything in our records," Captain Thanos said. "Even ancient bonded pairs never achieved this level of unity." Admiral Hayes called them to a meeting that evening. When they arrived, the room was full of high-ranking officers from both human and Etherian forces. "We're planning the final assault on the hegemony stronghold," the Admiral said. "Intelligence shows they're massing their entire fleet in the Kepler system. If we can break their main force there, we can end this war." "What do you need from us?" Jake asked. "The hegemony fortress is protected by shields that no weapon can penetrate," Admiral Hayes said. "But there's one way in. A small strike team could infiltrate the facility and shut down the shields from inside." "It's a suicide mission," Captain Martinez added. "The team that goes in probably won't come out." Jake felt Lyra's hand find his. Through their bond, he could sense her thoughts. She was thinking the same thing he was. "We'll do it," Jake said. "You understand the risks?" Admiral Hayes asked. "We understand," Lyra said. "But if our bond can give others a chance to live, then that's what we'll do." Admiral Hayes nodded. "The assault begins in 72 hours. Use that time to prepare." As they left the meeting, Jake felt a strange mix of fear and excitement through their bond. They were going to face the deadliest enemy in the galaxy in their own fortress, but they would face it together, and somehow that made all the difference. "Are you ready for this?" Lyra asked as they walked back to their quarters. Jake looked at her and smiled. "With you? I'm ready for anything." The bond between them pulsed with shared courage. In 3 days, they would either end the war or die trying. But first they had to survive the most dangerous mission anyone had ever attempted. The night before the final mission, Lyra brought Jake to a place he had never seen before. Deep in the Etherian ship, past corridors lined with crystal walls, she led him to a room that glowed with soft blue light. "This is the Hall of Bonds," she said quietly, "where my people perform the deepest ceremonies." The room was beautiful beyond anything Jake had ever seen. Flowing patterns of light moved across the walls like living art. In the center stood a raised platform surrounded by floating crystals that hummed with gentle music. "Why are we here?" Jake asked. "Because tomorrow we might die," Lyra said. "And if we do, I want my people to know what you mean to me." Other Etherians began to enter the room. Jake recognized Captain Thanos and several other officers. But there were also civilians, families with children, elderly warriors with scars from old battles. More and more people came until the room was full. "Lyra, what is this?" Jake whispered. "The ceremony of true recognition," she said, "where the clan formally accepts a bondmate as family." An elderly Etherian woman approached them. Her blue skin was pale with age, but her eyes were bright and wise. The markings on her face showed she was someone very important. "I am Elder Vera Thane," she said to Jake, "Lyra's grandmother and matriarch of our clan." Jake had no idea what to say. "I'm honored to meet you, Elder." "You saved my granddaughter's life," Elder Thane said. "But more than that, you chose to bind yourself to her fate. That makes you family." The ceremony began with singing. Etherian voices rose together in harmonies that made Jake's heart ache with their beauty. The words were in their ancient language, but somehow he understood the meaning. They were singing about love that transcends death, about bonds that make two souls into one. Lyra took Jake's hands and led him to the center platform. As they stood there, the floating crystals began to glow brighter. The light seemed to respond to their presence, to the bond between them. "Jake Collins," Elder Thane said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "Do you accept the bond that ties your life to Lyra Voss? Do you swear to stand with her in battle, to share her strength and her weakness, her joy and her sorrow until the last star burns out?" Jake looked into Lyra's eyes. Those deep blue eyes that had first looked at him from under the rubble on New Geneva. In them he saw everything they had shared, the training, the growing trust, the way they had learned to move as one being. "I do," he said. "Lyra Voss," the elder continued. Do you accept this human as your true bondmate? Will you share with him the ancient strength of our people? Will you fight beside him and die beside him if the fates demand it? I will, Lyra said. Her voice was strong and clear. Elder Thane raised her hands. The crystals around them began to pulse with brilliant light. The glow flowed into Lyra and Jake, surrounding them in radiance. Then let all witness that these two are no longer separate beings, the elder declared. They are bonded in the ancient way, unified in purpose, strengthened by love that knows no fear. The light intensified until Jake could barely see. But through their bond, he felt Lyra's presence more clearly than ever before. Her thoughts, her emotions, her very essence seemed to merge with his own. When the light faded, something had changed. Jake could feel the difference immediately. The bond between them was no longer just a connection. It was a fusion. They were still two people, but they shared one unbreakable spirit. The crowd erupted in celebration. Etherians came forward to offer their congratulations and blessings. Children with wide eyes stared at Jake in wonder. He was probably the first human they had ever seen. But it was Lyra's expression that took his breath away. She was smiling. Not the polite smile she had worn during their training, or the grateful smile from the medical bay. This was pure joy, lighting up her whole face and making her blue skin glow like a star. You're smiling, Jake said softly. I'm happy, she said. And the simple words carried a weight of meaning. For the first time since the war began, I'm truly happy. Through their enhanced bond, Jake could feel exactly what she meant. The ceremony had not just formalized their relationship. It had completed something that had been growing between them since the moment he pulled her from the wreckage. Captain Thanos approached them as the celebration continued. I've never seen a bond ceremony create such resonance, she said in wonder. The crystals are still glowing from your presence. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means your bond is stronger than anything in our records, Captain Thanos said. You're not just connected. You're unified at a level we thought was only myth. Later that night, Jake and Lyra sat alone in her quarters. Tomorrow would bring the most dangerous mission of their lives. The hegemony fortress was protected by weapons that could kill bonded pairs instantly. The chances of survival were almost zero. Are you afraid? Jake asked. Yes, Lyra said honestly, but not of dying. I'm afraid of failing. If we can't shut down those shields, both our peoples will lose. We won't fail, Jake said. He meant it. Through their bond, he could feel their combined strength. It was like nothing he had ever experienced. You've changed, Lyra said, studying his face. Since the ceremony. You feel different, Jake nodded. Stronger. Like I can see more clearly. Is that normal? For bonds this deep, yes. We've become something new, Jake. Neither fully human nor fully Etherian, but something that combines the best of both. They spent the remaining hours before the mission reviewing their plan. The fortress was massive, built into an asteroid in the heart of the hegemony stronghold. Getting inside would require them to fight through defenses that had never been breached, but their bond gave them advantages no one else possessed. They could coordinate perfectly without communication. They could share strength and speed beyond what either species could achieve alone. Most importantly, they could trust each other completely. Whatever happens tomorrow, Lyra said as they prepared to rest, I want you to know something. What? When you saved me on New Geneva, you didn't just save my life. You saved my soul. Before our bond, I was just a warrior. Now I'm something more. Jake pulled her close. Through their connection, he could feel her love, her gratitude, her absolute trust in him. It was overwhelming and wonderful at the same time. You saved me too, he said. I just didn't know I needed saving. They slept peacefully that night despite the approaching danger. Their dreams merged together, showing them visions of possible futures. Some dark, some bright, but all of them shared. The next morning, they woke to the sound of battle alarms. The assault on the hegemony stronghold had begun. Through the ship's windows, they could see the massive enemy fleet engaged with human and Etherian forces. It's time, Lyra said. They put on their armor, checked their weapons, and made their way to the assault shuttle. Other elite soldiers were already there, but Jake and Lyra would be going alone into the fortress heart. Admiral Hayes met them at the shuttle. The combined fleet is keeping the hegemony busy, she reported. You'll have maybe 30 minutes to get inside and shut down the shields before they can respond. Understood, Jake said. Good luck, the Admiral said. Then more quietly, The whole galaxy is counting on you. As their shuttle launched toward the fortress, Jake looked at Lyra. Her blue skin was glowing brighter than ever, pulsing with the rhythm of their shared heartbeat. "Ready?" he asked. "With you, always," she said, and smiled that radiant smile that made everything seem possible. The fortress loomed ahead like a dark mountain in space. Somewhere inside lay the controls that could end the war. All they had to do was reach them. Together they could do anything. The Hegemony Fortress was like a nightmare made of metal and stone. Jake and Lyra moved through its dark corridors, their bond guiding them toward the central control room. The walls were covered with reptilian symbols that seemed to writhe and shift in the dim light. "The shield controls should be 3 levels down," Lyra whispered. Her armor scanner showed dozens of enemy soldiers between them and their target. "I can feel them," Jake said. Through their enhanced bond, he could sense the hostile minds nearby. The Hegemony soldiers felt different from any living thing he had encountered. Cold, hungry, filled with hatred for all life that was not their own. They moved like ghosts through the fortress. When enemies appeared around corners, Jake and Lyra struck together with perfect timing. Their weapons combined energy and projectiles in ways that cut through the strongest armor. Their movements were so coordinated that they seemed like one deadly creature with 4 arms and 2 minds. But as they went deeper, the resistance grew stronger. The Hegemony was beginning to understand what they faced. "Warning," came a hissing voice over the fortress speakers. "Bonded pair detected. Deploying bond breaker weapons." Jake felt a chill of fear run through both him and Lyra. The bond breaker weapons were designed to destroy the life connection between Etherian pairs. If they worked, both Jake and Lyra would die in agony. "We have to move faster," Lyra said. They ran through the corridors, fighting their way past wave after wave of reptilian soldiers. The Hegemony troops were well armed and vicious, but they had never faced anything like a perfectly bonded pair. When Jake was surrounded, Lyra's energy flowed through him, making him faster and stronger. When Lyra faced multiple attackers, Jake's tactical knowledge guided her movements with inhuman precision. They were unstoppable, but the fortress was huge and time was running out. Finally, they reached the central control chamber. It was a vast room filled with twisted machinery and pulsing energy conduits. In the center stood the shield generator, a massive device that hummed with power. Between them and the generator stood the supreme commander of the Hegemony forces. He was larger than the other reptilians, with scales like black metal and eyes like burning coals. In his clawed hands he held a weapon unlike anything Jake had ever seen. "So," the supreme commander hissed, "the bonded vermin have come to die. We've come to end this war," Jake said, raising his weapon. The supreme commander laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Your bond makes you strong, but it also makes you vulnerable. Observe." He fired his weapon. The beam that emerged was not light or energy, but something darker. It struck Jake and Lyra at the same time, and both screamed in pain. Jake felt their bond being torn apart from within. The connection that had made them stronger than any individual was being shredded by alien technology. Through the agony, he could feel Lyra's life force weakening. "The bond breaker weapon," the Supreme Commander explained as they writhed in pain. "It severs the connection between bonded pairs and feeds on their life energy. You will die slowly, knowing that your love has become your weakness." But Jake's love for Lyra was not weakness. As the weapon tried to tear them apart, he fought back with everything he had. Instead of letting the bond break, he pulled Lyra's fading life force into himself, taking her pain as his own. "No," he gasped, reaching out to her. "I won't let you go." Lyra, even as she weakened, did the same. She pulled Jake's life into herself, sharing his strength, refusing to let the weapon separate them. The Supreme Commander's weapon was designed to break bonds by attacking them, but Jake and Lyra's bond had grown beyond anything the Hegemony had encountered. Instead of breaking, it adapted. Golden light began to flow between them, brighter than ever before. The bond-breaker weapon's dark energy was absorbed into their connection and transformed into pure life force. "Impossible," the Supreme Commander snarled. Jake and Lyra stood up together, their armor blazing with combined human and Etherian power. They were no longer just bonded, they had become something entirely new. "Our bond can't be broken," Lyra said, her voice harmonizing with Jake's. "Because it's not just connection, it's love." They moved as one being. The Supreme Commander fired his weapon again, but the dark energy simply made them stronger. Jake's human adaptability and Lyra's Etherian life force had merged into something the galaxy had never seen before. The fight was swift and brutal. The Supreme Commander was skilled and vicious, but he was fighting two people who shared one unbreakable will. Every attack they made was perfectly coordinated. Every defense was flawlessly timed. In the end, Jake's tactical knowledge guided Lyra's energy weapon in a strike that shattered the Supreme Commander's armor. He fell, his weapon clattering across the floor. "Your people will never understand," the dying commander hissed. "Individual strength is all that matters. Bonds are weakness, and now you're wrong," Jake said, helping Lyra move toward the shield generator. "Bonds are what make life worth protecting." They reached the control panel together. The hegemony technology was complex, but their enhanced bond let them understand it instinctively. Jake's human engineering knowledge combined with Lyra's understanding of energy systems. "There," Lyra said, her hands moving over the controls. "The shield frequency is tied to all their planetary defenses. If we overload it," Jake realized, "it won't just drop the shields here. It'll disable their weapons across the entire system." Together, they input the commands that would end the war. The shield generator began to pulse with dangerous energy. Warning lights flashed throughout the fortress. "We need to get out of here," Jake said. The overload would destroy the entire fortress. But as they turned to leave, Lyra stumbled. The battle with the Supreme Commander and the effort of breaking the bond breaker weapon had cost her more than Jake realized. Through their connection, he could feel her life force flickering. "Go," she whispered. "Someone has to survive to see the peace." "No," Jake said firmly. "We do this together or not at all." He wrapped his arms around her and poured his own life energy into their bond. The golden light that flowed between them grew brighter, stronger. Where the bond breaker weapon had tried to separate them, their love made them inseparable. Lyra's strength returned, fed by Jake's unwavering devotion. Together they ran through the collapsing fortress as explosions shook the walls around them. They reached their shuttle just as the shield generator exploded. The fortress died in a cascade of light that spread across the entire hegemony fleet. Their shields failed, their weapons powered down. Their ships went dark. The war was over. 1 year later, Jake and Lyra stood on a peaceful world where human and Etherian children played together under twin suns. The galaxy was rebuilding, and their bond had become the model for a new kind of alliance between species. Other bonded pairs had formed, not many, because the connection required perfect compatibility, but enough to show that different peoples could become stronger together. "Do you ever regret it?" Lyra asked as they watched the children play. "Giving up your old life for this?" Jake smiled and took her hand. The bond between them hummed with contentment and love. "My old life was just surviving. This is living." Lyra smiled, that radiant smile that had become Jake's favorite sight in the universe. Her blue skin glowed with happiness, and through their connection he felt the same joy flowing through his own heart. "The war is over," she said, "but our bond is forever." "Forever," Jake agreed, pulling her close. Above them, human and Etherian ships patrolled together, protecting the peace they had all fought so hard to achieve. The galaxy was safe because two people from different worlds had learned that love was stronger than any weapon. In the distance, new bonded pairs trained together, learning to fight as one, learning to trust completely. The techniques Jake and Lyra had developed were being taught to a new generation of warriors who would never fight alone. Elder Thane approached them, her ancient face creased with satisfaction. "The council has made a decision," she said. "You two will be the first ambassadors of the new alliance. Your bond will be the bridge between our peoples." "We're honored," Jake said. "You saved us all," the elder said simply. "A human who was willing to die for an alien he had never met. An Etherian who chose love over duty. Together you showed the galaxy a better way." As the twin suns set, painting the sky in shades of gold and blue, Jake and Lyra walked home together. Their footsteps fell in perfect rhythm, their bond humming with shared contentment. The war was over. The galaxy was at peace, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other beings looked up at the stars and dreamed of finding someone worth fighting for. Jake had saved Lyra from death. She had saved him from emptiness. Together they had saved the galaxy from endless war, and when Lyra smiled, as she did every day now, Jake knew that some bonds really were unbreakable. The end of war was just the beginning of their story together.